morning. I didn't know this, but this place was born at, I don't know, she was just very odd. I believe it found me, the faith came into my life versus me seeking it through circumstances. So anyway, I don't think it's a coping mechanism for me. It is a truth that works for me, and I don't expect anybody else to believe that it's true, but I am not going to let go of my belief in.
All right, thank you, Violet. Let's go to my main man, JCC. JCC, is religion a coping response to trauma? Is it a crutch? What make you of religious faith, JCC?
Since I am not of religious faith, I'm going to answer according to my interactions with those who are of a religious faith. It's my understanding it seems to be passed on through family tradition, i.e. kind of indoctrination of some sorts or the other. And from further dialogue with those who do hold it, I do think it's a coping mechanism, whether it be from a traumatic experience or just a way to have something to lean on to help them deal with the ebb and flow of life. So I guess basically it could be mechanicalistic as Bain is asking, or it could be a coping slash trauma response. So it depends on the individuals.
Good, very good. Lynn, is religion a coping mechanism to trauma? Is there a crutch? What do you make of it, Lynn?
I don't think it's either. I mean, I do have a traumatic childhood, but notwithstanding that, I think that my faith has been more like a guiding light to definite performances in my life that are much better than what would be perceived from my trauma. I think it was my faith and the belief system that I got within that system was something that elevated me over the trauma to surviving and then thriving. And so I don't think it's a coping mechanism. I think that it's more of a, I think for me, I think it would be more of something for me to elevate what I had prior to me finding the faith, if that makes
complete sense. Thank you. Richard, what do you think? Is it trauma response religion? Is it a crutch? What is it? A coping mechanism? What say ye?
My father was in the United States Coast Guard in a ship heading to Hawaii. He thought every night that he was going to get blown out of the water by a Japanese submarine. And I think this traumatized him and made him, because he was more intelligent, it turned him into a fundamentalist Christian. He became basically addicted to letting life be determined by the Bible. And I don't think had he not been traumatized by that he would have gone that route. But, and I think it's true of many people that the memory or the existence of trauma in their life moves them into a religious mode. So I think it's true, but not everybody. Thank you.
Thank you, Richard. And Benjamin, our resident bastard, and many other things. Benjamin, my main man. What say you about religion? Is it a trauma response, a coping mechanism? Hey, Benjamin, you're my man. You know.
I know it. I like the name. I like the way it rolls off the tongue. I was just letting it linger for a minute to just like savor the flavor. It's like better than Manchego, really. Religion is a cope, man. Religion is a cope for people who haven't grown up. They haven't cut their mother's apron strings. I hate to describe people facing the years they're going to spend in adult care as having never grown up. But if you've not cut the apron strings with the religion of your mother, by the time you enter senior care,
it's a shame because being an adult is an amazing experience, and you can't be an adult if you're still hanging on to your mother's apron strings. So you've got to cut those ties. You've just got to grow the fuck up. And some people are just preternaturally disposed to being children all their life, and they can't get over that. So I don't know that there's any solution for people who can't grow up. I think we just have to love them and give them diapers emotionally and intellectually until they need diapers again. But it's a crutch. And it's a shame that in the United States, where people don't really need religion, people still can't seem to walk on their own 2 feet. But I'm trying to help them. I'm trying to help them learn to walk, love and care and nurturing and watering and attentiveness. And you know how much love I give people every week who are religious. I try to nurture them back to full health in my own special way. And it is difficult. People are deeply addicted to their childhood fantasies.
Benjamin, I don't know that you're helping anybody else's mental health, but thank you for all your efforts at being.
I try though, Scott. The thing is that I am trying.
All right. Well, thank you, Benjamin. You're the man. Shapeshifter, what are your thoughts? Religion, coping mechanism? Yeah.
Not my thoughts. I have to give all credit to this guy Harari that wrote *Sapiens*. I think religion is the single greatest cooperation invention in mankind next to language. I really do. And I'll just read a quick quote from his book. You could never convince a monkey to give you a banana by promising him limitless bananas after death in monkey heaven. Say what you will about religion. It is a forcing function for cooperation of which us monkeys had never seen before it was created.
Thank you, Shapeshifter. John Malincrot, our resident scientist, what say you? Religion, is it a crutch? Is it a coping mechanism? What do you make of it, John?
I think for the vast, silent majority, it's just a habit. It doesn't mean very much, but you inherit it from your parents. You never question it. You go through life. It doesn't really have that much of an effect, right? The people it has an effect on, and that I think often go on to do, as Shapeshifter was alluding to kind of illustrate the dangers of religion, are the ones who have had some kind of a trauma, who adopt it. It doesn't always happen this way, but I think the really dangerous people are the people who have become who they are because of religion, and typically they've either weaponized the religion of their parents or come to it through some traumatic event, and it becomes the all-consuming dictates of their life, and it gives us things like Donald Trump.
Well, there you go,
John would agree with me. I knew he
John, of course. Nirvana, what say you? This was not your question, right? This was Vane's question. So Nirvana, what say you? Religion coping mechanism? Is it a crutch?
I don't really know how to say this, but I think the previous speaker has a really great question. As far as I can tell, is that we human beings seem like spend a life is trying to solve a different question in a different dimension. I think with the self, with the others, with the nature, and the fourth dimension, I think is a superpower, and you can call it a religion, and whether you define how you define it is really based upon your culture and upbringings. That's all I can think about it. If I may, and I'm not sure if you guys already talked about this. I think maybe because I'm kind of late into the room, and I was still kind of trying to figure out the Supreme Court.
We'll come back to you. We'll come back to you on that. Okay, we'll come back to you.
Uncle Steve, is religion a crutch? Is it a coping mechanism? What make you of religion?
I believe that the main intent of every religion is control. To control the religious population, to, in essence, a form of government, a form of spiritual government, i.e., a necessary evil. It's control.
All right. I will weigh in really quickly, and then we'll go to our new speaker here, Oleg. I will just quote from Lauren Jackson, who is a columnist for the New York Times. She has left religion. I think she grew up Mormon. She's an atheist, but she writes the Believing column for the New York Times. She writes about religion and religious trends in the country. So she's a great journalist. Will be a guest on the podcast, I think, this week. I was supposed to have her on last week, but I unfortunately got a little bout of flu or cold or something. So she says this in her most recent column. Religion provides what sociologists call the 3 B's: belief, belonging, and behaviors. It offers belief that supply answers to the tough questions of life. It gives people a place they feel they belong, a community where they are. And it tells them how to behave, or at least to what tenets should guide their action. Religious institutions have spent millenniums getting really good at offering these benefits to people. For the last few decades, the world has tried to go without God, a departure from most of recorded history. More than 1 billion people globally, and about a third of Americans have tried to live without religion. Studies in recent years have offered insights into how that is going. The data doesn't look good. There's overwhelming empirical support for the value of being at a house of worship on a regular basis on all kinds of metrics: mental health, physical health, having more friends, being less lonely, said Ryan Berg, a former pastor and a leading researcher on religious trends. He is an excellent researcher. I will say that. I know Ryan a little bit. Pew's findings corroborate that idea. Pew, the gold standard. Actively religious people tend to report that they're happier than people who don't practice. Religious Americans are healthier too. They are significantly less likely to be depressed or to die by suicide, alcoholism, cancer, cardiovascular illness, or other causes. In a long-term study, doctors at Harvard found that women who attend religious services once a week were 33% less likely to die prematurely than women who never attended. That's because, said Tyler J. Vanderweel, an author of the Harvard study, they had higher levels of social support, better health behaviors, and greater optimism about the future. Religiously affiliated Americans are more likely to feel gratitude by 23 percentage points, spiritual peace by 27 points, and a deep sense of connection with humanity by 15 points. Regularly than people without a religious affiliation, researchers found this year. The latter is particularly important. Positive relationships are the single most important predictor of well-being, according to the longest-running study on human happiness in the world. So there you go, just some facts. Of course, those are general trends, so they don't ring true for everybody. But in general, if you want to cope better in this life and live longer, go to church or synagogue. If you want worse outcomes, don't. There you go, just from empirical research. Thank you, and let's. Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
I'd like to comment on that, and then I see that Rohan is new on stage. So I absolutely believe, as I've said many times, that religion has much more positive effects than the negative effects. And I point to something that you just read about community and relationships. Believing in God, believing in a higher power is certainly important. But being part of community, having a support system around you, I think that is the best part of religion. And I'll land it here. Reverend Scott, you mentioned the 3 B's in religion. There is something also known as the 3 B's in the law. Begin, be brief, and be seated.
I love it. And those things, belonging you're hitting on, right? But it seems, because Rohan says in the comments, which I think is a pretty good response, that you could just go to a knitting club or chess club or something. The thing about we'd have to game out, which I would love to see the empirical research on this stuff. That what that would give you the belonging, but the belief in the behavior stuff. It seems to be the three B's together that somehow help may constitute religion salutary effect. But maybe other things would do the same thing. So, and now that I mentioned you, Rohan, I will go to you. Would you like a fresh five?
Not really. Hey everybody. No, yeah, I was just gonna say like what you just commented on. To me, what you read spoke to the power of human beings, and if you spend more time with human beings, like amazing human beings, you do better. So it didn't seem to me that you like what you read spoke to actual religious belief. It just spoke to a community, and is my take that you can get that community in a whole host of ways, like you mentioned, like car clubs, knitting clubs, go to singing clubs, like whatever. Just spend more time with people, and you tend to do better. So that's all I wanted to say.
I mean, I think and we don't really have enough data here. It would be interesting to look to have different research done, or better research, or more specific research on these questions, right? Because what we're assuming is that the religious people are all in community, and the atheists or the non-religious or the nuns are disconnected from social outlets and social connections, so that may not be the case, though, right? I mean, it may be that the atheists or the non-religious folks, the folks that are doing things like going to the local bar, going to knitting clubs, going to ultimate frisbee games, and still score lower on these things. Or it may not be that we'd want probably some kind of control group kind of situation where we could look at people that were just as socially connected and in religion or not in religion as those who are. And also, it doesn't seem to account also for, we want to look at people that claim religious belief but don't go to church or synagogue. That's another control group. So there you go. And I want to go to Nirvana. Nirvana, would you like a fresh five?
Yes, you did. Yes, you did.
I totally agree with your assertion of the quotation. And
So basically,
although I think in the scientific world they might kind of arguing whether that's a causation or correlation, but I think that's anything if it works, that works, and I think that's the most important. What I want to kind of the switch topic, maybe you guys already discussed, is trying to ask your opinion or interpretation from the Supreme Court legal opinion or decision, we should say, that last Friday that was, for the birthright, and seemed to me still quite confusing, especially trying to understand the implication not only on the birthright itself as well as for the future executive order. And I'm not sure if Beck has talked about.
Nirvana, we did talk about that pretty extensively, so I want to say thanks for the question. And you can go, the show is on replays, and if you go back, we had a pretty extensive conversation about it. So I'm not going to rehearse that at this point, but check out the replays because there was some great conversation about it. George, welcome to the stage, and would you like a fresh five to talk about whatever's on your mind?
Hey, sorry, I was a little distracted, but I think religion is I think you can explain every religion in its way and to cope with people, but I do believe that the wisdom of the Torah is like the best thing. I've been a teacher for 7 years, and we don't really give kids like any moral instruction, almost, basically, because there's no like framework for what's right and wrong, or just the bifurcation of reality in this country. It just become
kind of wild.
George, I'm sorry to interrupt, but if you feel comfortable saying, what level do you teach at, and what do you teach if you feel comfortable saying?
Yeah, high school English.
High school English, thank you.
Yeah, I think every child deserves a Jewish education. When I was in college, I had a Jewish girlfriend. I was going to convert to Judaism and become a rabbi. I spent 2 years studying, and then I found out I'm a sperm donor baby. And I realized the genetic injustice.
How long have you known you've been a sperm donor baby, if you don't mind me asking?
Since I was 23.
How long has that been, if you don't mind me asking?
8 years.
And the only reason I'm asking this is because I have found that most people that find out they're sperm donor babies eventually try and determine who their father was. If you feel comfortable, have you taken that path in the past 8 years?
I haven't found an avenue to do that, but if I do, it's not something I think so much about.
You don't care that much about it. Okay, sorry to interrupt, sir, please.
No. Yeah, and then ever since I found out, even before I found out I was sperm donor baby, I was just horrified at the genetic inequalities between individuals. And
You
I think
generally speaking, or you're a sperm donor?
No. Generally speaking, the differences between perceived.
Dude, I must be totally ignorant and I don't know. What are the genetic inequalities of people?
Yeah, it's based on perceptions, but some people are perceived.
Clearly, because I'm not aware that it's based on science or fact. You're right.
Yeah, it's based on.
Okay, so what you're saying has nothing whatsoever to do with fact or science. It's based on perception.
Of course it does. Yeah, intelligence is something that's really like, opposite of what blank slates.
I'm sorry, just so I understand, because I'm not arguing, I just want to understand. You're saying this is scientific fact or it's perception?
Intelligence is about 50 to 80% heritable.
So you're saying it's scientific fact?
That intelligence is heritable.
Intelligence is determined by genetics. If you could educate me and the other nieces and nephews, I would love to learn this. Please do.
Yeah, I think it's about 50 to 80% heritable. All my life, I've been different from my dad's side of the family, and I've been wondering why that is. I've always been intellectually oriented.
So why don't you tell us, generally speaking, which part of the human race genetically is more intelligent than the other part of the human race genetically?
I think that individual differences are much more important than.
And is there anything in common with those individualistics, like skin color, religion, something like that?
Every person, every genetic object as a person has its story, and every gene and every certain groups have certain genetic histories.
What groups are more intelligent than other groups?
Jews.
Jews are what? More intelligent or less intelligent?
Generally, Ashkenazi Jews are more intelligent.
Ashkenazi Jews are more intelligent than other groups. Okay. But is there a group that comes in second place? Would it be Jews that are not Ashkenazi? I'm just asking.
Where do the Black Hebrew Israelites rate?
I was going to get to that. But first, okay. So Ashkenazi Jews are the most intelligent people on the planet, generally speaking. And I asked about other Jews that are not Ashkenazi. Do they come from the same place or no?
Individual differences.
Well, I want to talk about the groups for a moment. I want to talk about the groups, if that's okay. So Ashkenazi Jews are the most intelligent people on the planet. My next question was, are non-Ashkenazi Jews the second most intelligent people on the planet?
Probably not.
Okay, what group is the second most intelligent on the planet?
Well, the Greeks bred people for
the Greeks. Are the Greeks number two?
It's more complicated than putting a number, putting one attribute. It's
well, obvious. Well, then what is it? I mean, you're the one that brought up groups. Ashkenazi groups are the number one intelligent group on the planet, and then you brought up people born in Greece. Is that correct? Or did I not hear you correctly?
Yeah, and they're individuals.
Yeah, okay, so people that are born in Greece are the second most intelligent group of people on the planet. Do I understand you correctly? Pardon?
It's a little hostile.
Sir, I'm not hostile at all. I'm just asking you basic questions.
There are different traits that you'll see that...
I'm just asking you if people born in Greece are the second most intelligent people on the planet. I'm just asking a question. You can say you don't know.
Born in Greece, the second most intelligent.
Yes, that's the question.
Maybe people in Scotland, maybe, I don't know.
Oh, okay, so people born in Scotland are the second most intelligent people on the planet. Is that what you're saying?
Chinese.
Pardon?
Maybe the Chinese.
Maybe the Chinese. Okay. And this is coming from George, who teaches at the elementary school level. He teaches English. Okay, George, you know what? High school, right? I've asked you enough questions. And then, by the way, thank you, Reverend Scott, for allowing me to take a break. I come back after the break fully charged. George, it's nothing against you. George, take a minute or two. You can finish up. I'll go on mute. Thank you. Thank you for being comfortable enough to answer those questions.
Hey, Steve, Dr. James wants to get a fresh five.
Yeah, or Dr. James, do you maybe want to ask George some questions, if George is okay with it? I don't want George to seem like he's a witness being grilled. I just figured since he brought up that intelligence is directly related to genetics, I just wanted to clarify for all the nieces and nephews what he's talking about.
Not as smart as rats, and
excuse me, what?
Ants aren't as smart as rats. Smarter people can tell smarter
ants,
kids.
A-N-T, you mean those little black things on the ground? Ants?
Yes.
I would like to let you have Scott.
You want to let me finish?
I would like everyone to finish with this guy, and then I would just like a fresh five.
Sassy guy.
You want to know where he graduated from university?
UCLA. I got a full ride scholarship. I can talk to you and
all right, very good, George. Why don't you take a minute? Everybody go on mute. I want to give. Hang on. I want to give George 90 seconds to finish up uninterrupted, and then we're going to give him a first class escort to the VIP. Go ahead.
Steve, I just want to say this is great radio.
Reverend Scott, thank you. George, please, 90 seconds uninterrupted, then the whole show is going to give you...
The California education system is really shining.
Benjamin, can you hear me, Benjamin? Benjamin, can you hear me? I want George to finish. We're going to give him a standing ovation because, in my humble opinion, y'all, this is... George coming on the show is exactly what this show is about. Go ahead.
I've been a teacher for 7 years. Any teacher, anybody who you tell you're a teacher will tell you, oh my God, I'm so sorry. And it's because of the kids who just don't have it. And you try your best to inspire them to learn, but they just are not as smart. And they will fail all their classes in order to protect themselves from the damage it does to their egos. And it's really disheartening. And I, being the sperm donor baby of a Greek Stanford finance PhD, looking the way I look, having the temperament I have, I just wonder if other people would enjoy the privilege. So if that makes me a bad guy, then I'm the bad guy.
I don't think you're a bad guy. What privilege are you referring to?
The privileges of perceived genetic quality.
Gotcha. Beautiful. Is there anything else you wanted to say, George? Is there anything else you wanted to say?
I want a Drake world.
A Drake world? What is a Drake world?
Half black, half Jewish.
Half black, half Jewish. Yeah. All right, George. First standing ovation. That's not.
I don't mean everybody.
No, George. George, as far as I'm concerned, this has been the best. George, this has been the best 10 minutes of the show. First class escort to the VIP. And
Uncle Steve, I just want to say again, your
that
capacity.
was the best transition between me and you I've ever had. I hope you didn't mind, you know.
Text messaging in the background. And
Yeah.
no, this was, Uncle Steve, we've had some of the best whack packery on display today.
Yes.
I mean, it really had outstanding radio in that regard. And I want to say hats off to you for assembling this motley.
And again, and I never once said George was right or George was wrong. I never and Dr. James, don't worry, I haven't forgotten about you. I never once said that what George was saying was the smartest thing since sliced bread. Or did I say it was the most stupid, idiotic, prejudicial, bigoted comments I had ever heard? But just to refresh very quickly, according to George, who allegedly is a high school teacher, that Ashkenazi Jews, because of genetics, are the smartest people on the planet. And then coincidentally, just coincidentally, because George is a sperm baby of a Greek doctorate professor, that coming in at a close number 2 by a head or a nose as far as the most intelligent people on the planet because of genetics are those born in Greece. I tell you, education, entertainment, what else could you ask for on Ask the Atheist with the Mod Squad? Okay, Dr. James, as promised, you gonna...
I guess I would say this, just to kind of thread the last speaker. My question is, how is this not different from the rhetoric around master race? You said some other version of it, ranking yourself as having some kind of apparent high ground. And, you know, my first gut feeling was all the groups that you were saying were the most intelligent, your background was going to be up there in the mix somewhere. And so when you talk about how, you know, people come into spaces and they, you know, egos get all ensnared, yada, yada, yada. For me personally...
Well, he did say Uncle Steve's background was number 1. He did say Ashkenazi Jew, so according to him, I'm number 1. But sorry to interrupt, Dr. J.
Yeah, I know, that's totally fine. I mean, I just think that's something that, for me, I would be sort of looking inward about it, is why do I feel compelled to come to this space and say that thing that he just said? I mean, I can't answer that for him, and I won't try to, but I would look in the mirror, my friend, and see what you find. So let's see. So one of the headlines I actually forgot about earlier, we don't have time to discuss it, but I'm just going to introduce it, that I thought really interesting.
Did you run out of Post-its, Dr. James?
No, I've got them. I'm actually holding them in front of me, but I'm really doing my best to kind of work on my parsimony and you know, hit the notes and move it along, because, you know, I've gotten some feedback from Caleb, you know, that, you know, he doesn't like when I bloviate. So here I am trying not to bloviate, and I'm in the midst of bloviating. So let me get back to my point. So this Denmark, this is really interesting. Denmark has proposed a law that your likeness, your face, your voice, and your body is copyrightable material. And this would be a sweeping shift in, I believe, IP law in terms of, kind of cutting edge, changing where this is not something in the U.S. that's protected. And my question about this was essentially, if this law gets passed, will it serve as there's a word that the lawyers will know when you look back to a law that's happened, precedent. Will this set precedent for a domino effect, and will this impact any kind of international treaty laws around copyright and intellectual property? Essentially they're trying to protect people against deep fakes and things like that. And I don't really feel the need to debate someone on what makes intelligence. I do intelligence testing. It's a construct. It's been helpful and problematic. It's been used against people of different ethnicities. It's at times been shown to have extreme bias. There are other factors that come into play with intelligence other than, I was born this way. Things like I was born poor. I was born in an underserved community where we did not have resources. I was born with a color of skin. This is not the largest explanatory factor. Now, it's true that if you give your sperm away and you're, propagating the next, army of minions around the world, that, perhaps you have a popular brand of sperm. I mean, maybe you've got the good stuff for 2025. But I just want to say, just like Drake, people fall. And so don't get so high up in the air that you can't touch the ground, my friend. That's all I got.
Don't get so high up in the air so you can't touch the ground. Amazing. If you're in